Greetings and welcome to the Northman. I'm outside. It's kind of scary because it's so open. But one thing it has is no traders. I think. Maybe in there in the dark forest. But I don't know. So, there's a path, a fork in the road. Where do I go? Is there a trader anywhere? Anyway, I'm talking about a game called Among Us. And Among Us is a very popular game recently, where 10 people play together and 1 or 2 usually is a traitor trying to kill off all the other players and sabotaging the mission as best as they can. But hopefully when this is all over, this self-quarantine thing, where do we go then? We don't sit and play Among Us in the couch by each our phones, do we? No, of course not, because we have board games and card games. And fortunately, there are already Among Us games out there, way before Among Us was even a thing. So, I'm going to tell you about them. Hopefully, we'll learn something. Trust. What is trust? You can't hold it. It's not tangible. It's fluid because it can change. What is trust? Anyway, trust is what you need to have in this game. Or rather, not. Because these games are all about not trusting anyone, really, except for yourself. Because you are the only person that you know is to be trusted, whether you are a traitor or not. So in all these games, everybody is a worker, or crewmate, just doing their business and task and trying to make the game a success for all players. But there is this one person at least, but which one is it, that doesn't want this mission to be successful? And that is also the reason why these games are so successful or fun. But why? Because you don't know who they are, but you know yourself. But you have to trust someone because you only get to choose one who is a traitor. But that, oh yeah, now this is the fun part. It all makes sense now. Uncertainty, doubt, misery, contempt. Now, the first 2 games I want to talk about is Chameleon and Spyfall. Why these 2? Well, they are very similar, but in a different way. Make sense? Yeah, sure. So, in Spyfall, let's take that first. We are all agents trying to infiltrate some place, so secret spies. But one of us is not working for our agency. They are an imposter! So, each round we have a pile of cards or decks, and they're all hidden. We don't know what the decks are. But each deck consists of a location. And the location is an image of the location with some details on it. It's a very nice illustration, actually. And one of these is dealt to each player. But one of these cards is just a satellite. A spy satellite. So, if you get dealt the satellite, you have no clue where we are or what the location is about. But you will be asked questions and you will have to answer for it. But how can you answer something that you don't know? You have to be vague. But also, the other players, they should have an easy way, right? It's just they don't know no location. So I can say, is it hot where you are? Let's say you are in Spain. And you say, yeah. But this information is also what the spy will hear. So now he knows it's hot there. So if you, as agents, the real ones, aren't too vague either, then the spy will get this information anyway. And that is the cool thing about the game, because everyone has to be vague, but not too vague. If the agent or chameleon wants to, they can reveal themselves and say where they think they are. And if they're correct, they just win automatically. So you don't want information to reach the imposter player. And also, after you have answered the question, it's your turn to ask someone else a question. So you can ask, well, what is the policy against smoking outside or outdoors? And all the other players are, we're in space, or we're in a submarine, so is it a giveaway that you are the spy, or is it a trick question for you to the spy you're asking the question to? Like if he says, oh, it's okay, then okay, now we all know who the spy is. So this concept is also for Chameleon, except there you don't have to be put on the spot like that. You just write down a word, trying to figure out what the real word is. But Spyfall is my favorite of those two anyway. But if you don't like to be put on the spot like that with a timer, then Chameleon is more for you, I guess. They are both very similar, but it's both very fun, and they have support for many players as well. Spyfall has for 10 players at once, I think. Just great fun. And you don't play it one round either. There are some point systems there, but who cares? It's fun. So, you are two people. It's you and one person. And you go near this little edge here. Do you trust that person not to push you over when you know one person in the group has a desire to do so? Yay! Finally on top of the mountain, and there's so much wind here. Very typical of Western Norwegian weather, just a lot of wind. And that's why I'm sitting here behind this Varde. Is there any English word for this? You know, a pile of rocks that someone has put on top of a mountain. Like they have it in the Lord of the Rings, they put all these pillars, but I don't know. It's a guard, or a ward maybe for English. It's very typical to have in the Norwegian mountain tops, just piles of rocks like this, Varde. Anyway, the second group of games I want to talk about here is La Resistance, or The Resistance, and also named Avalon. And what's the last game I'm thinking about? Yeah, One Night Ultimate Werewolf. They are all kind of the same kind of games, where you have a group of people, as normal, and one or more of you are traders, and you have to select a group of these people to send out on missions and do tasks. And whether or not that task is successful is up to the players who are on the task. So the game is about figuring out the correct team to send out and voting for that team and discussing why you should trust that team and why you shouldn't, based on, well, first nothing, because you have no information unless you are the traitor, then you know your teammates. But you are basically basing this on conjecture and the what's it called? The behavior of the other players and how they react and what their arguments are and such like. So it's a very great team building game, because you have to discuss, you have to learn your other players to know, and you have to find out what the correct strategy is. And to be honest, there is no correct strategy except to play the other players and hope you are not among the players who are caught. It's very hard to describe how to win the game. You have to play it to kind of know how to play it. It's just being there with the players you are with around you. That's how you know how to play the game. The rules are simple, but the rules aren't the game. The game is about trying to figure out who the traders are. So also One Night Ultimate Werewolf is kind of the same thing, except there's only one round, and you have to figure out using deduction based on the little information you have, which is from players who you can't really trust. But it's also very fun because it lasts only 10 minutes, and the game is over, and you play again, and you have new roles and such. So these games are very good for groups. Also, Secret Hitler, that should be one to mention. It's the same kind of concept, except here you have a lot more information to go on, and you have abilities that happens on the way, and there's so much deduction and accusations going on in this game, and it's so fun for you if you can call you fascists and such. And if the theme isn't for you, well, it's not for you. But luckily there are versions out there that is like Secret Sith, where you can be a Jedi trying to figure out who the Sith Lords are, and that is a theme I enjoy a lot more than Hitler. But the game is very fun and highly recommended. So all of these games are. So The Resistance or Avalon, One Night Ultimate Werewolf, Aliens, Vampires, what have you, and Secret Hitler. Finally found some shelter. It's really hard. And this is typical for a Norwegian thing. It's just nistepakke. You have some bread and some cheese and ham maybe. And just eat it on a trip. And maybe some coffee. Anyway, the last group of games I'm going to cover are more heavy games. The ones I mentioned now are very easy to get into, and they're highly replayable. Play them over and over again, and you don't even need both groups. This last group is about the longer games, the more dedicated games. They have the same thing with traders in them, and you have tasks you need to complete, but these games are a lot heavier in rules and time investment. The first one is Dead of Winter. In Dead of Winter, there's a zombie apocalypse, of course. Why not? And you all need to survive and fight off these zombies trying to get in through the walls. But basically you're just sheltering inside the buildings, and sometimes you have to go outside and get food and other supplies to survive. So the zombies are there, but you don't really have to fight them, but you can. It's just rolling a die. But one of you maybe is a betrayer. You have no interest in the common good of the people. You just are selfish and you want this particular goal. If you cannot complete that goal, you lose. Also, all the other players have a common goal to fulfill, but if they cannot fulfill that goal, they will also lose, and you will lose. Because all of you have to complete the goal to win, and only one group can win: the traitor, or the betrayer, or the rest. But also the rest are individuals again, because they have their own hidden agendas. They are so glad in food, they have to eat, they have to hoard food for themselves, not because they are betrayers, but because they just have to have food. Or they are gun collectors because they don't trust anyone else. They're not betrayer, no, just selfish. So all players are selfish in their own way, acting like a betrayer would, because they are, well, hoarding stuff. So, okay, we need food for this common task. Who has food? I don't have food. I don't have food, no, nope. So, it's very interesting. I like how they have implemented a hidden traitor in a game where all players are traitors. That's a very nice feat to have, and the game is fun. It is. It just takes some hours to play, but it's very fun indeed. The other game I'm about to mention is a bit harder to recommend because it's been out of print for so long. It is my top favorite hidden traitor game ever. I won't play it in a setting where we don't have time, because this takes hours to play, and that is Battlestar Galactica. This is my favorite game. It's just way on top there, and I have spent so much energy and money to enhance the look of this game, and it's just so amazing how the tension you get, and the things you have to do, and the relation you get with other players, and the suspicion and everything is just so nice. So the game has, mechanically, it's not the best game, but when you put them all together in this bag, it just becomes this great product that, yeah, it's hard to explain to convince anyone to play it, because it doesn't sound really interesting. You want to survive, and some of you are silence or hidden traitors, portraying as humans, but they're really not. And all these tasks you have to complete is also random, so the game is also playing against all the human players, and additionally you have this traitor involved. So Battlestar Galactica is a very high recommendation for me, so if you can get it, sure, but the thing is, I really would like to play it with expansions. Now the base game you can get fairly cheaply, but the expansions, oh yeah, that's where you have to spend money. So I would recommend you try the game before you buy it, but if you get a chance to try it, you should be. I just love this game. It's so good. Oh, it's so good. But can you really trust my recommendations? Well, of course you can. I'm a guy with a camera on the internet, and everything I said is, of course, very trustworthy. But what you didn't realize is that this is all fake. What you're really seeing is not what you're hearing, because look, my lips doesn't match up with my voice anymore, because this is actually a recording where I'm lip syncing to what you're seeing. So how can you trust me then? It's very suspicious. So you can't really trust anyone, can you? But I do hope that you can trust my recommendations in these games, and they are really a nice thing to check out once this self-isolation and quarantine is over. And I hope it is soon, because social interaction is very important, and that is one of the reasons I love board games so much, because you get to meet people and look at their eyes, talk to them, just interact in a way you cannot do over internet. I hope you have enjoyed this video with all these recommendations, and please click the like button and subscribe and share with your friends. And please comment what you liked, what you I missed. There are so many games out there that has this Among Us thematic sense to it that I cannot cover it all. I just covered what I think are great games already. But thanks again for watching, and I hope I see you again in the future. See ya! Yeah. Back to the car. Nothing bad happens.